Hello friend, and welcome to BorgcasTAS, the animated series 1.5 with Amory and Peter.
Hello!
And we have a little bit of previously when we covered yesteryear from Andy, as predicted, on the subject of uniforms.
Oh, right, yes.
They are typically issued to sailors prior to embarking on ship, and it is the responsibility of the individual to look after their own uniforms and to mend any damage. However, it is not unheard of for personnel to trade favours, so they might have a messmate who would fix something if it is beyond the skill of the individual. If it's too badly damaged or lost, they can get another from stores, but the ship won't have one of every size of every uniform, so they might have to wait until they are in port. So this was the topic of beaming down Spock's
It was the
outfit.
wardrobe, wasn't
yes,
it?
the wardrobe department.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting side note that until recently, the Royal Navy had a tradition of Chinese servants serving on warships to do the laundry.
Ooh.
Yeah, this dated back to the 1930s. But given the rise in tensions with China, and let's be honest, it's not really the done thing to have servants, this has been ended, and they've been replaced with Nepalese Gurkhas. Wow.
Whoa.
On the topic of Thalin, he was the Andorian
Yes.
first officer that replaced Spock in that reality. He actually showed up a couple of other times in Trek, most notably in the short story The Chimes at Midnight, which explored the timeline from yesteryear through to the events on the Genesis planet in Star Trek 3. Been a while since I've read it, but I really enjoyed it.
Oh.
Here we go.
I mean, if it's Star Trek, it will exist in a spin-off or a novel or something somewhere, won't it, basically?
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's amazing he wasn't referenced in Lower Decks, wasn't it? But there we go. Today we are covering The Survivor.
Yes.
Written by James Schmierer. I don't know when to stop pronouncing that.
How is it spelled?
Schmerer.
Schmurrer.
Schmierer. Yeah. He did 2 episodes of Starsky and Hutch, A Fantasy Island, A Hawaii 5-0, 9 episodes of Chips, MacGyver, and a TJ sex worker. So he was a busy bee.
Captain's log, stardate 5143.3. While patrolling the edge of the Romulan neutral zone, the Enterprise has changed course to assist a one-man vessel which has fallen victim to a meteor swarm. Sensors indicate the occupant is still alive. Have you identified the vessel, Mr. Spock?
Yes, Captain. But you may find it difficult to believe. The vessel is registered to Carter Winston.
That's impossible, Spock. Carter Winston's been missing over 5 years.
So, you have a captain's log. They are patrolling the edge of the Romulan neutral zone. They've taken a slight detour to rescue a one-man craft that's been damaged in a meteor swarm.
Another lovely little design.
Yeah.
That, it's a blink and you miss it, but I tell you what, they do better on the animated series than they do in blooming Discovery. Or Strange New Worlds, where you just see a tiny dot on the screen most of the time.
But then again, it's animation. It doesn't cost them as much compared to building a model or whatever.
I guess, but, it's important.
It turns out the vessel contains a dude called Carter Winston, who's been missing for over 5 years. And McCoy says that his daughter was saved by Mr. Winston. She was on a colony that was really struggling with famine, and he brought supplies.
Now, she was mentioned in the original series Writer's Guide, but never actually featured in an episode, although she was going to feature in The Way to Eden.
Okay.
Lucky escape for her, that really, wasn't it? Carter Winston, another moustache supporter. Do you see Mr. Pringle's Kyle is back on the transporter?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, just reusing footage, but, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's voiced by...
Doohan?
No! Surprisingly! What a shock, eh? But Ted Knight. Now, this chap was in Roddenberry's The Lieutenant, in 165 episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, playing Ted Baxter.
Oh.
Now, that was trailblazing series at the time because it depicted a single professional woman who was focused on our high-powered career rather than home raising. And it's quite well known. I mean, I've heard of it, but had no idea what it was until I looked it up.
Isn't it that song?
Yeah, that's right. I think so. Yeah, very
So
good.
that's who Mary Tyler Moore is?
Now we know, yes. He also starred in 129 episodes of Too Close for Comfort. In liberal San Francisco, a conservative cartoonist tries to keep his 2 daughters who rent an apartment below him safe. Sounds appalling.
Yeah.
It was later retitled The Ted Knight Show. He voiced a lot of cartoons, though, as well as being a big star, including being the narrator and Commissioner Gordon and the Penguin in the 60s Batman cartoon, and was in 16 episodes of Lassie's Rescue Rangers, which has come up before now.
Lassie's Rescue Rangers. Lassie's Rescue Rangers. Lassie's Rescue Rangers. Lassie's Rescue Rangers.
Editing Peter here, and I do thoroughly recommend checking out Lassie's Rescue Rangers intro on YouTube, because not only is the tune incredibly cheesy, as you've just heard, but wow, the visuals are something else. Another Filmation cartoon, surprise, surprise, and a bunch of 70s hippies in a helicopter doing a Thunderbirds type rescue thing, but with Lassie as a member of the team. Yeah. I think he became something of a TV institution in the US, but I've never come across him before.
No.
And I expect he's not well known in the UK, as his shows just weren't really shown here. So.
No, fair enough.
And we're told he's made a dozen fortunes, somehow. I mean,
Yeah.
presumably that's Latinum then, is it?
Well, I don't know, because are they supposed to have got rid of money yet?
Yeah.
Okay. But then maybe they say he used it to help colonists, so maybe he's on the edges of something.
Yeah.
Don't know. Spock then says that there's a particular crew member who's going to want to meet him, Lieutenant Anne Lawrence, who was his fiancée. But then he says, have you got your ID tapes with you? Because there has to be an ID check and medical examination. And it turns out ID tapes are C90s.
Yes. Which, 1979, they may have just become a thing, I think. So, yeah, rather than doing something futuristic, they just literally do a cassette.
It's just... Why not a badge? We still have badges now.
Why not the things they had in the original series? You know, I mean, literally, if they just coloured it colourful, at least it would look better. But there are smaller ones, aren't
Yeah.
there, than a tape cassette. But those things were like standard for the original series.
Well, also, they have to go into a different room and plug it into the computer to check the ID. Whereas with a badge, you can fucking look at it, can't you? Anyway, it turns out that his ID checks out. But when McCoy is giving him his physical examination, readings are a fraction off normal. Because they're only a fraction off normal, he thinks that maybe the machines in that need recalibrating or something, which is fair enough. So then he says, right, okay, so Anne can come in and meet him. And he says he always intended to come back and marry her, but his ship was disabled. And he says, I am changed. He says he had surgery, he was nursed back to health.
And he's got no winky.
Right.
Sorry. Lower the tone.
Fine. But he says that it's over between them and he can't ever marry her.
And she turns and faces the screen
And does a cry.
Does a cry in full close-up. It's like, oh, that's heartbreaking. Did you detect who, by the way, was doing her voice?
I'm guessing it was Majel Barrett.
No.
Was it Nichelle Nichols?
Yes. I mean, if it's a woman, those are your two options, aren't they?
Yeah.
And interestingly, she appears in the background a few times, but she never has any lines. And interestingly, actually, when they do have a communications person having lines, it's Imress. So.
Yeah. So then Winston transmutes into a weird squid thing, kidnaps Kirk and then becomes him. And then you've got McCoy saying that some of the tests are to Chapel, some of the tests are off and some of them aren't. He's not really sure. Then Kirk comes onto the bridge and orders them into the neutral zone. Spock says it isn't prudent, but he says they've got to get to Ratar 3, the survival of the planet is at stake, and that Winston has said that, this is important and there weren't any Romulans in the area last week. And I'm thinking, okay, you're saying
last week
that this is a life and death thing.
Yeah.
I get that. But just because there weren't any last week doesn't mean there aren't any
now.
now. That's
Exactly.
just weird.
A week's a long time in space, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that no Romulans last week just strikes me as really quite odd. Whereas no, we've got to go to save this colony.
Yeah.
If you hadn't said the no Romulans last week, would have been better. It's just really odd. Anyway, then Spock is doing a ship's log, explaining that they're heading into the neutral zone, and then Kirk appears and takes the con, and then he says he's fallen asleep. He doesn't remember ordering into the neutral zone, so Spock plays him the tape. And he then gets Lieutenant Unrest to put the ship on yellow alert. Now, isn't she Cation?
Yes, and it's our first view of her as well. I think maybe they mentioned her in the past.
I think they mentioned her, although maybe you saw her back or something, but you didn't see particularly what she looked like. But yes, it's obviously a different animation style, but it's still recognisably a cat.
Yeah, and that's a nice bit of design work, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's a furry's dream, but, And voiced by...
Nichelle Nichols?
Oh, you had a 50% chance.
Oh, Major Barrett.
Yes.
Fine. And then Spock sort of starts questioning Kirk, and Kirk says, no, I need to go to McCoy. I need to be examined. If I'm having blackouts and I don't remember giving orders.
This is a much better Kirk than we see in the original series, isn't it? In the original series, we've gone, no, there's nothing wrong with me. Let's carry on.
But then the squid appears and zaps McCoy and becomes him.
He's a Vendorian, not a squid. And the thing is, every time he knocks somebody out, it just looks like Mr. Tickle. You expect to hear that.
So, fake McCoy says that he needs to do the examination of Kirk later. He's got too many tests to run. And then Spock asks him about Winston's test results. And he says, "How are they okay?" He said, "Oh, they come through. They're fine." And he's like, "Well, could there not be an error?" And he said, "Well, of course there could. There could be an error in theory. Do you want me to rerun them?" And then you get Spock going, "That's not like Bones at all."
Yeah, I love that. He's being reasonable. That can't be McCoy.
That can't be him. No, can't possibly be him.
They return to the doctor's office, but he's not there. Instead, they hear him waking up in the main lab. There's a nice bit of humour as Spock says he doesn't think Bones is so odd as to take a nap during the day.
Yeah.
And the doctor says the same about Kirk when he seems to be talking to a bed. Turns out to be the shape-changing Vendorian when Kirk threatens to spill acid on it, which is quite violent. Apparently their planet is quarantined due to their shape-changing and deceptive ways. I mean, it seems a bit strong, doesn't it? I mean, who polices their world? The Federation? Not allowed to leave, no.
No, I think it's probably more quarantined from the perspective of the Federation, that people from the Federation aren't allowed to go there.
No, they're not allowed to leave, is the point they were making. Once more, it's an alien they'd never pull off in the original series, and its many tentacles overpower the Big Three, enabling it to scarper rather amusingly down the corridor. Spock having announced a ship-wide intruder alert for a shape-changer, Lieutenant Norred puts two and two together when she sees Winston. She is a security bod, after all. Sadly, she's distracted by people running outside the room, which is a bit unprofessional, and he chops the phaser out of her hand and runs for it. She still had time to pick it up and shoot, but she's not able to shoot someone in the image of the man she loves, which is a little bit pathetic, really, but there we go. Kirk rather indelicately declares the real Winston is dead, which is harsh. The red alert sounds, and Scott reports that 2 Romulan battlecruisers are heading towards them. Sadly, they continue the original series habit of using D7s, for similar reasons of cheapness, but hey, we got Romulans, let's not complain.
Yeah.
Except the Romulan commander does talk like the Warner Brothers Martian, unfortunately.
Oh, yes.
At last, after 2,000 years of work, the Illudium Q-36 explosive space modulator.
Guess on a voice for that?
Doohan?
It is Doohan, yes, and not his best work either. He charges Kirk with being a serial invader of the neutral zone. Well, that's, to be fair, this is the 3rd time he's done it.
Yeah.
So he demands the Enterprise be handed over. Kirk suspects those devious Romulans set the whole trap up using Winston's ship as a bait. We get our first view of Maress. And have you realised just how many more female characters there are in the animated series, the original series, and other point in its favour. In the shape of an engineering officer, the Vendorian knocks Scott out and tampers with the ship's shields. Their being down is reported by a Lieutenant Gabler, who we will see again, but just to warn you, he may just have changed his ethnicity. But anyway.
Oh.
Yes. And this isn't even Strange New Worlds. Lieutenant Norred corners the Vendorian as Carter again and describes how he nursed the injured human until his death a year later. Yet again, she fails to stun him as he confesses his love for her, but shows her his true form. The Romulans open fire, but the shields come up, and she overpowers the D7s. Spock surmises Winston changed into a deflector shield to protect them.
Wow.
Which is pretty implausible. Originally, they say he can only change shape, to a sort of human-shaped form. So the bed was okay, because obviously that's not far off human size. But an entire deflector shield? Plus, the alien's somehow going to be impervious to fire from a D7. It doesn't seem very likely, does it? Anyway, unless it can change its molecular makeup.
I'm thinking of Odo.
Yeah, well, Odo couldn't, though. That's just it. Odo could change shape, but he didn't change his molecular makeup, so he couldn't become a shield.
Well, I presume not, but he could become like a rock. And one of the things that I genuinely can't remember, but you might. I know obviously Odo doesn't have lungs, but does he need an atmosphere to breathe, or can he be in space?
I don't think he can.
Because that's more of a concern to me than can something who can change its molecular level be a deflector shield?
I mean,
maybe,
interestingly,
but how is it breathing? Do you see what I mean?
They never did it, I don't think. But anyway, the bottom line is, Odo could sort of stretch himself to cover somebody, which he did for Kira, didn't he?
Yeah.
Changeling pretending to be Kira, but that's not the shame with him becoming an electric shield that protects something. That seems rather improbable, but there we go.
It's just, I think what I'm thinking is that if Odo can become a rock, he can become a bag or whatever. He doesn't have to be living, but the thing that he is doesn't have to be a living thing or seem to be a living thing. Mm-hmm. But he's still inside an atmosphere.
Yes.
That for me, that was my automatic...
we never see him in space.
No, and that was my automatic go-to, was not so much how is it being a deflector shield, is how is it breathing? How is it surviving in space?
Yeah. The Vendorian comes to the bridge to apologise for putting the ship in danger. His motivation was wanting to feel useful, as his people saw him as unproductive.
Oh, he was not a very useful engine and got told off by the Fat Controller.
Yeah, I was wondering whether that was some sort of reference to reproduction, or just that he was crap and couldn't do anything. I don't know.
Did he say I'm not a producer?
Yeah, I'm not a producer, which could be reproduction, couldn't it? But
yeah.
It doesn't have to be. Anyway, the Romulans gave him purpose. But he absorbed Carter's humanity so much he couldn't act against humans, as it turns out. Which is kind of nice, and that does make a little bit of sense.
Yeah. But also, it's not necessarily a couldn't act against humans thing. It could just be...
But because of sort of effectively absorbing his humanity.
But when he says you and your people, it may actually have only applied to that ship. Mm. We don't know that it necessarily transferred to the species as a whole, if you see what I mean.
That was what I felt was inferred, that basically he'd gained humanity and a sense of not wanting people to be harmed.
But not all human
beings...
admittedly,
yes, you're right, not all humans have any
So I saw
empathy,
it more
as
as
we only true badly know.
I think I saw it more as he started to care for her, and obviously she's on the ship and that's her friends and her home, so he cares about her and her home. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I mean, it may have been intended to be wider than that, but I didn't personally view it wider than that.
Norred asks to be his guard. That's going to be a complicated relationship, isn't it? But anyway, and then we get...
Reminds me of all those scandals they've had recently of prison officers having sex with inmates.
Yeah, but the difference being that she's in love with the man he used to be, or he's impersonating... Yeah.
But, he's got lots of tentacles that can do some interesting things.
I wasn't going to go there, but you did. Okay. We get a jokey ending, but noticeably, and I think it's at least the second time it's happened, in the animated series, Spock always seems to get a riposte into Bones' jibes.
Yeah.
And he's a real burn in this one as well.
Yeah.
This is maybe, him developing humour over time, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly he's got it in the movies, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I enjoyed that. The Vendorians, of course, will go on to feature in Lower Decks.
Which one's that then?
Oh, yeah, I was fearful of you asking me that because I realised I hadn't written it down. So this will be an editing Peter job. God, make me work, why don't you? The answer is that briefly in Envoys, a season 1 story, where a Vendorian impersonates an Andorian. God, that's confusing. And they featured rather more in Caves in season 4. where they were impersonating Moss. Yeah. It made some sense at the time.
I enjoyed it.
Cannon or balls? Come on, cannon or balls?
Rock on, Tommy, you'll do for me.
Well, it's canon, isn't it? It has to be, because you have a history, continues in Deep Space Nine, of shape-changing aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you've got the one in Star Trek 6 as well.
Yep.
You've got mention of...
Was the Salt Monster shape-changing one as well, way back at the beginning of the original series?
Yeah, Salt Vampire.
Yeah, so, you know, it's been there right from the start.
So, I mean, that bit's canon. You've got the whole Romulan neutral zone thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
referencing previous incursions.
Yes.
So that's canon. You've got mention of McCoy's daughter, which you said was in the series Bible, just hadn't necessarily
Hadn't come up
before.
yet, but now it has.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. 5 for 5 somehow.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't remember the animated series being this good, which does slightly worry me that it goes really bad, and that was my long-lasting memory. But anyway, up till now, it's miles better than the original series, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a real emotional punch,
Yeah.
and it's not just, and it's around a character that we've never met before as well. And she's far better written than a load of the women were in the original series.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, she's perhaps not the greatest security person ever, sadly.
Yeah.
But then again, we've seen plenty of flaws in the other characters over the years.
I think for me that's the weakest point, is that the first time that she can't shoot him, I think that's fair enough. She's still in shock.
Exactly,
She's only
yes.
just found out. I get that.
Yeah.
But the second time is rubbish, and it makes
it
her out to be very, very weak.
Yeah, unfortunately. But there we go.
And also when she says guard duty, their response should be, what the fuck? No.
Yeah.
You failed to shoot him twice. Clearly you can't guard
We
him.
can't afford the counselling for that one.
But clearly you're not going to stop him escaping. We can't rely on you to, you've got a conflict of interest here. It's not fair on us to put you in that
I mean,
position.
admittedly, things
actually.
have changed a bit at this point in terms of him now being on their side, and so they're
Even
not worried
so,
about that.
I'd say there's a conflict there. Don't do it.
I mean, my issue more is the fact that psychologically this is not a good thing, because he's not actually Carter, what's his face?
Carter Ultimate Sex Machine.
Yeah, funny enough, that was where I was going.
Now, Sheriff Batman started out in business as a granny farmer. He was infamous for 15 minutes and he appeared on Panorama. Then he somehow got himself on board the Starship Enterprise allowance scheme with a Prince of Wales Award for pushing Valium and amphetamine.
So, is this healthy psychologically for her to be growing an attachment to this alien that... Anyway, let's
As
stop.
I said, though, nice tentacles.
Yeah, you said that about me many times, so yes. Or was it tentacles? I'm not sure. Let's find out what the Llama God thought.
Logs, Scotland, Fixie-Coeg, Shack, Tweak It. When the demons arrive, the survivors will envy the dead. Well, here we are then, with an episode of the animated series, which is essentially The Man Trap, but with calamari instead. Calamari. But yes, whilst it is very much like that original series episode, it's also somewhat less bleak as well. Part of that, of course, comes from the fact that this is flat, bright 2D animation, but also to help by the fact that the ending isn't quite as bleak either, given the fact that the crew of the Enterprise don't just kill the last surviving member of an alien race, and the fact that they do actually help try to get the Vendorian some help, and he's apologetic for his actions. So yeah, and it's generally actually a more positive one. And actually, this is a version of the Man Trap, which is in fact a little bit more Star Trek, or more Star Trek than the Star Trek that we expect these days, which obviously wasn't a thing when the original series actually aired. It's also a version that is, of course, better suited to animation. I mean, whilst the Salt Vampire in the original series episode is indeed kind of nicely horrifying, given the makeup budgets of the time, these Vendorians are actually properly alien. Obviously, they're a little bit weird, a little bit cartoonish, but hey, they're actually properly aliens, alien, and we like some of that in Star Trek. We like some of that in our science fiction. So yeah, this is good again. Obviously, the other angle is that this isn't just about a creature that's looking to survive, which made the Man Trap and what the crew of the Enterprise did to the Salt Vampire a lot less forgivable at the end. This is actually about someone who's being used as a spy because he just didn't fit in. I mean, it's kind of nice. There's nice little themes of people being used by preying on their weaknesses and all that, but also the fact that he's apologetic towards the end, and the Enterprise crew do really understand that he was just doing his best to try and survive. That was really nice. And of course we get some Romulans as well, which is always welcome. And also we get some spaceships. Now, yeah, okay, we only get the D7s, but at least season 3 of the original series did establish the fact that the Romulan Empire does use D7s. The only really disappointing thing is the fact that they're not pink this time around, which is kind of what I was expecting with the animated series, so a bit of a shame there. But yeah, generally this is a good episode. It moves along very quickly and has a really positive ending considering the themes of the episode. Also, also, for this episode, I decided that it was about time that I let someone else have a listen to this. So let's give his verdict on it as well. How did you find that, little boy?
Good.
Did you like it?
Yeah. Do double. Do you want to find out for then a double for me? Okay.
You want me to do double thumbs up?
Yeah. I like it.
Okay. And maybe we'll watch another one in a couple of weeks' time, okay?
I want another one today.
No, not today. You can watch a different... Daddy doesn't want to watch another one today.
I do.
So there you go, short to the point, better reception than Ulysses 31, but then he is a bit older and we tried him with that one as well. And then the next day he asked if we could try some more Star Trek, to which I said, no, sorry, I'm going at the same pace as you guys for the podcast. So yeah, generally positive thing. I'll see how he gets on the next one then. And I look forward to finding out what everyone else made of this one, of course. I hope that everyone's good and not quite as exhausted as I am at the moment for reasons. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Oh, thank you, Scraplet.
Yay. I'm glad you liked it. And your dad is mean for not letting you watch more. I mean, he could at least show you the ones he's already covered.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, bless. Oh. Well, there you go. It does work with kids still. Excellent.
Definitely.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, the man trap with calamari. But it is more positive. But
Yes.
again, I think that's
I
what...
certainly prefer it to the man
Yeah.
trap, I'll tell you that.
But I think that's why, given how much more Star Trek we have watched than just the original series, I think that's one of the reasons why the animated series feels more Trek. I think because it fits better with the movies. Mm-hmm. It fits better with the other series that have come after.
It is more Trek, ironically, than the original series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'd be saying that if there hadn't been more Trek since. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it gets more and sometimes less, like what we think of as Trek. But yeah, this is on its way to becoming what we think. I guess the Next Generation is kind of our baseline, isn't it? Ironically, it's the Trek series that you saw the most of. I mean, I had seen the original series before TNG, but I never quite got into the original series so much because you didn't see enough spaceships was my problem with it. Whereas the Next Generation was like, this is like the movies, this is more like what I want from my Star Trek.
Whereas I don't know about you, but I saw the movies first before I saw any of the episodes. And to me, the two didn't really compare very well. So I didn't like the original series compared to the movies.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons was that my favourite character was not Kirk. And I didn't get to see enough of the characters I liked that I had seen in the movies, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. Who my favourite character was varied. So in more recent years, it's been Spock, but I can remember liking Chekhov because at the same time I was watching The Monkeys, which must have been repeated on BBC Two. So I automatically, when I was much younger, preferred Chekhov. I prefer this to the original series so far.
Whereas for me, Scotty never looks right without a moustache. So.
But I think, yes, I prefer this so far to the original series, but I think it's also true to say that I don't think I would like some of the characters as much as I do had it not been for the original series. I'm thinking particularly of Spock. Hello, baby. You've come to join our podcast.
Yeah, just for the last bit of it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Bit slow, but never mind.
Never mind. I like the cuddles. You good girl. Good girl.
Let's find out what Purry thought.
Hello orcs, Purry here to talk about Survivor, and this is probably the first one out of our run through the animated series that I didn't enjoy as much. I found it a wee bit on the dull side. I think it maybe felt a bit padded to me. It was nice to see the Vendorians, where they came from that episode of Lower Decks. And I had a real liking of the grumpy Romulan that they met in the neutral zone. Not just, I think the drawing made him look like he was just really tired of everything, like this was the Romulan that life had really, really gotten top of, and he was absolutely done. But it's also like the attitude again. I don't know if James Doohan was directed to do that with the voice, but it's the, Kirk saying we crossed the neutral zone by accident. He's going, yeah, that seems to happen a lot to you, doesn't it, Kirk? Yeah, cross the neutral zone by accident, pull the other one, it's got bells on, mate. I really liked him. I want a whole fanfic about the grumpy Romulan commander from that episode. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is actually for a kids show, it doesn't do too badly with the concept of there is a shapeshifter on board. They don't quite go full thing on it, but you know, he replaces crew members repeatedly, and I quite liked the way they found him out. You know, obviously there is the bit Kirk. You know, actually another thing I liked, again, while I didn't enjoy the episode, there's stuff to like. I liked the fact that Kirk, when he was told, yeah, you came onto the bridge and told us to go into the neutral zone. And he looked at the video and he said, right, I'm blacking out and I don't remember stuff. Someone's going to have to keep an eye on me because something screws happening. Like, I like the fact that he wasn't getting annoyed. He was like, ooh, this is weird. That's good. Like, it shows a more responsible side in some ways of Kirk, a more realistic thing of, he sat there and said, well, I don't remember doing that, but that looks like me. And so just bring that in. And in fact, the way they found out was that when Spock said McCoy might have been wrong, McCoy was quite reasonable about it. And he's like, okay, that was weird. But yeah, basically, I mean, I don't know. Well, we know we've got this philanthropist who's on a whole lot of charity, and as it turns out, he was killed and replaced. Well, he died and was replaced by a Vendorian. And it's like, oh, do you get charity now? But well, they didn't make up the money thing until Star Trek 4 anyway. So up until this point, there's still money in the Federation, not canon-wise, but you know, as far as the writers are concerned. So not too bothered with that. And he had his wife. I did like the idea he ditched his wife because he didn't want to hurt her, but she eventually sort of bonds with him again because he's been in that form so much he's like acquired it, or maybe she just fancies a bit of Tentacle, I don't know. Was it Nichelle Nichols doing the voice of the wife, which I suppose you could have said couldn't Uhura have been his wife, but I suppose that's kind of adding a whole other dimension to a character we've known for the past 3 years. You don't want to really say, oh yeah, and by the way, she had a husband who went missing years ago. You know, and we never mentioned it at all, and possibly she forgot him when Nomad blanked her memory, but we also don't talk about that. So, but still nice to hear people getting voice work. So yeah, I just found it meandered a bit. It was just a lot of transformations and an awful lot of him running away. And yeah, and at the end he turned himself into a force field of roughly the same size and dimension. Although nice that they had the limitation that you know, I think they were kind of trying to hint that he had to be roughly the same size and shape, or at least of a restricted volume. Something they never really caught with Odo was that Odo, you know, should have only been able to form things of a certain size. They did it in Terminator 2, the idea that you couldn't become something huge. You could fold himself out flat, but couldn't like suddenly turn himself into a giant. But yeah, so not as good in this one. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I just didn't find it was as much fun or weird as the other. It was, to be honest, you could have done this one, aside from the look of the Vendorians, which should have just changed, this could have been done live action, and I mean, I'm glad they didn't, but you know, it could have been done there anyway. So yeah, that's about the only part. So all the reason we just say is do keep up the good work. I also look forward to the podcast and hopefully feedback in the next one, but until then, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. I'm sorry you didn't like it. I mean, for me, one of the key things about it is the look of the Vendorian. So you couldn't have done this live action. But I agree that it wouldn't really have worked to have Uhura suddenly have, you know, a whole big bit of backstory that we hadn't learned about before. Yeah. So I'm glad it was someone else.
They seem to be basically sticking to whatever's in the series Bible, which I guess there wasn't anything about Uhura having lost love. Who was, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I rather suspect there was very little about Uhura at all. So, but there we go.
Because that's why they've had to make up so much backstory for Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
But in a way that I don't think would necessarily be. So far, I've not read it as creating any kind of problem. The story the narrative that they've made.
No, I mean, there's nothing that contradicts anything that we learned because we never learned anything in the original series. Let's face it, about Uhura. Rather frustratingly, of the fact that she had a fine singing voice.
Yeah. Did you like the grumpy, snarky Romulan?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, his voice was too comical. That was the problem. If he had a slightly different voice, he would have been better. And oh, you've done it again. Yeah. Thing is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't go full thing yet. That wasn't going to happen in a kids' cartoon, was it?
No.
I mean, I know there were some improbable at the RoboCop cartoon, but I don't think the Thing cartoon was ever on the cards, and certainly not in a Star Trek cartoon for that matter.
No.
And that problem about Odo, I mean, he never grew much bigger than a human thing. I mean, he stretched out sometimes,
Yeah.
but he was able to shrink an awful lot. You know, he could become a
Yeah.
mouse and stuff, which doesn't seem massively probable. So, yeah, I think it's
Maybe he was an incredibly heavy mouse.
yeah, a very dense one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. But then that wouldn't work in terms of how the mouse moved.
But
and
ironically,
stuff.
they addressed it in this in a way
Yeah,
they
no,
never
they
addressed it in
didn't,
Deep Space Nine, which is a bit odd. But there we go.
Yeah.
Well, next time we shall be covering, not in 2 weeks' time, but 3 weeks' time, because we've got a break next week for a Hollybobs. And we'll be looking at, on the 21st, the Lorelei signal. Yeah, okay.
Aren't the Lorelei some kind of siren things?
I don't know. I really can't remember, so...
I've just have a funny feeling they've come up in Ulysses.
Ah, right. Well, I'll do the reading for that for 3 weeks' time. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be looking at the next Babylon episode on our Galactica feed. On the 14th, we are covering, infection. Oh, well, never mind.
I think I've remembered what that is now.
Uh-huh. Happy days. Anyway, it's I remember it being bad, but not the worst, put it that way, so...
If it's the one I think it is, it's more that I remember it being... It's not heinous like Believers, but I remember it being shonky. If it's the one I think it is.
Yeah, we'll worry about that on another podcast feed.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
Until the next time we're talking into your ears, take care, cheery bye.
Bye, boy.
Theme for Star Trek The Animated Series was written by Ray Ellis and Norm Prescott.
Any music used in this podcast is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at BorgcasTAS.libsyn.com.
We have a Facebook group which you're welcome to join.
Send emails or MP3s to Borgcast@gmail.com.
Find us on Blue Sky at broadcastammo.bsky.social
and revorg.bsky.social.
Shut it down!